I know I spoke about the first time that I almost got graped, my first experience. And I want to talk about all my experiences. This is going to be the second time that I experienced almost getting graped. I think I had that experience around 3 times. And the reason I want to talk about it is because the Roe versus Wade that I mentioned back in part one of me almost getting graped, how I'm just so really unsatisfied with what has happened in the United States with this law being overturned, and what's the possibilities and what could happen to our young daughters and our grandchildren, our young grandchildren. And it's just really, really wild because it's you can now get pregnant for a rapist or a family member, and you can't abort. You just can't abort it. And it's crazy. But I think the reason why they're doing this, they're hoping that less Caucasian or white women will not have abortions. But they don't realize that these Caucasians and white women are still going to get abortions, and they're going to find ways to abort regardless. And so it just makes room for more black people to have more babies, because when they can't get abortions, they're going to have more babies. So what they're trying to stop, they're making it worse. It's not going to happen for them. It's not going to happen for them. It's going to even get worse, because there's a statistics that's out there how the white women, their birth rate has flatlined to the point where it's on decline right now. And I'm going to do a series about that. It's called Birth Dirt. And once you read that survey, it'll tell you what's going on. So my second incident of being almost raped happened in Florida. And how it happened was, I had already left New York and I was in Florida. And this was my first time in Florida, and I was actually in Florida to stay. I wasn't going to go back to New York. This was going to be my new home. And I moved here to stay with my great aunt, which was my grandmother's sister. She had a house, and she had a couple of kids living with her at the time. I think one of them was my age, but the rest of them was older. Then she had older children than that was out on their own. And she had a son that was already out on his own, who was much older, who was married, living in Miami, had children with his wife. And what happened was, it didn't hardly work, because during the time there was this group in Miami called the Coptics. And he was working with the Coptics. They were a Rastafarian group that was in Miami, that was importing all kind of drugs into the United States, but they used religion as a way of being able to import drugs, saying that their religion, they have to smoke ganja, some shit to the effect. And they were one of the biggest drug smuggling organization in Florida. They were called the Coptics. This was back in the 80s, though. So, moving forward, had the cousin living in Miami who was married, had a wife, children, and he was working with the Coptics. He was like their right hand man. Anything that they wanted, he would go get it for them. And he made good money with them. But he would come up to Broward all the time to his mother's house, and he would see me there. I'm his cousin. Hey, cuz, what's up? And because I was at my aunt's house and I wasn't being treated very well by her other children, he was like a breath of fresh air. He would come up all the time from Miami. He treated me very well. He talked to me very well. And I grew a liking for him because out of all her children, he was like the only one who treated me like a human being. The rest of them treated me like I was some stranger or some foreign, person, which my grandmother had sent me up here to her. It was my grandmother's sister. So he kept on saying, calling me cousin, and, hey, cuz, I'm glad you're in Florida. Hey, cuz, have you ever been to the beach? And me being excited because I'm like, oh, everywhere you go, there's a beach here. And he was like, oh, I want to take you to the beach one day. I'm going to come get you and take you to the beach, and we're going to have a good time. And I was all excited. I was like, oh, yeah, my big cousin's coming to take me to the beach. And he would always promise to take me to the beach, but he never came through on that plan. So this one particular day, he comes up from Miami, and he comes up early, and he says to me, I'm taking you to the beach today. So I was like, okay, cool. So I said, but I don't have a swimsuit. He said, don't worry about it. I'll take you to go buy you a swimsuit. I said, okay. He took me, got in his truck. He had a little pickup truck. He took me in his truck. We went, we stopped at the store, bought myself a swimsuit, drove down to Miami. And when we get to Miami, I'm thinking we're going straight on the beach now, and that there would be a place on the beach where I could change and, we can go out into the water. He turns to me and he says, no, there's not a place where you could change there. I'm going to have to rent a hotel room so that you can shower after you come off the beach, and we can go there and change to go on the beach. And when we come off the beach, we go back there to shower and change and come back to Broward. So me not knowing anything about Florida, and I hadn't been here already like maybe 6 or 7 months. I wasn't even here a year yet. So finally, when he came and took me and was telling me all this stuff, I believed him. So I said, okay, no problem. So we go, and he takes me and we go rent a hotel room. Go in the hotel room, I change off into my bathing suit. We go out on the beach. Now, he was a big ganja smoker. So while we were on the beach, he was lighting one after the other. Back then, this was in the 80s. It wasn't that, cops weren't that hanging out on the beach watching anybody type shit. No cameras. So it was cool. He was all the way out in the water smoking his shit. I'm there. We're having a good time. I'm swimming around. I'm loving this. My big cousin took me to the beach. I'm having such a wonderful time. Yada, yada, yada. Fast forward, we're there over like an hour and a half, 2 hours swimming around, having fun. We were even playing with each other at one time in the water, splashing water on each other. And I'm having a great time because this is my older cousin. So we finally leave the beach and we go back to the hotel room now. So I go inside the shower. He lets me go in first. I go in the shower off, take off the swimsuit, washed out all the sand and everything, yada yada. All of a sudden, I'm standing in the bathroom, butt naked. He kicks the bathroom door in. And when he kicks the bathroom door in, he grabs me by my neck and he throws me across the room onto the bed. And I ended up on the bed, butt naked. And so he proceeds to try to grape me. But I'm yelling at this point because I realize I'm in a hotel room. I'm screaming on top of my voice for help because I'm thinking to myself, somebody will hear me and will come in this room and he's going to get himself in trouble. But as I'm screaming on top of my voice, I'm fighting back. And at one point, when he decides that he was going to come lay on me, I scrunched up in the bed, buckled my feet in to my body, and made one kick and kicked out at him. And when I kicked out at him, his body flew across the room and hit the wall. So when he flew across the room and hit the wall, he realized that I was serious, that he wasn't going to get to grape me today. Not today. This wasn't going to happen. We was not going to have a grape scene here, right? If anything, he was getting ready to go to prison behind trying to grape me in this hotel room. I'm yelling on top of my voice. I'm screaming for bloody murder and screaming for bloody grape. And at some point in time, it hit him. Oh, shit. I better leave her alone because eventually somebody's going to hear and they're going to bust into this room and it's going to be a problem. He finally decides to let me up and gave up and decides, come on, let's go get dressed. Let's go back to Broward. On the way back in the car, he never said a word to me. I never said a word to him. He let me off. He never tried that shit with me again. Fast forward years later, I mentioned it to him one time. I said, remember when you tried to rape me in that hotel room down in Miami? Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know what did that on my mind. I never think. This was years later, though, that I mentioned it to him. And that was his response. And I kept that to myself. And I never let anybody know that he tried to do that. The only person I ever told about that was him. Went back in his face and told him. But then years later, after I'm looking at him and I'm seeing how he turned out to be a sorry man, like just very sorry. And he was a drinker and damn near an alcoholic and a goddamn ganja smoker. So I actually felt sorry for him after that. Years later, fast forward, like I said, it was just like, oh, really, dude, you were really just a nothing, just a big nothing. So this was my second experience of almost being graped. Because we can't really say the word from what I understand on YouTube. But you guys understand what I'm saying. So my lesson from that is to be careful of even family members, because family members are like the worst. And this incident was even worse than my first incident, I think, because I had to fight even harder. My first incident, I didn't do that much fighting. I did more of a conversation, talking, than I did with this. This I had to fight, yell, and scream on this one. So understand, your own family members could rape you and impregnate you, and you wouldn't be able to do shit with this new law. It's just disgusting. But like, follow, share, comment. Let me know what you think. It's a horrible thing to be raped You understand? Because anybody who wants to, when you're young like that, you want to have that experience, your first experience with someone who you really like or who you think that you may love, and have a wonderful experience, not have it being taken away by a family member or a stranger forcefully. So like, share, comment, let me know what you think.